Here we are. I am happy to be back. I always feel like I need to lean in, like I need to just speak to you so closely. But I am really excited about this topic today. And the reason that I'm excited about it is because it does feel like one that's very near and dear to my heart, as I suppose all of these topics are that I speak about here. But this one in particular, I know can be a little bit insidious, I think, especially in the culture in the US at the moment, and maybe for a long time, which is the struggle to find work life balance. And that is really what the theme of today is going to be about. I'm going to be talking about my own personal journey and challenges to find balance, and then also ways that we can think about cultivating balance and what that looks like in our life. And again, I am on this journey at this exact time, which I actually think allows me to understand maybe what you're going through as well. It's not like I'm this work-life balance pro who has done this for 10 years. I am in the trenches as well. And I think it can feel very kind of amorphous to figure out. So my intention is for this conversation to give us all more clarity about where we are and how we can move forward. So personally, I have always been a bit of a perfectionist and an overachiever. And as I have gotten older, as I've become an adult, as I now run my own business, I have started to realize just how much I am kind of conditioned to work. And this is also not just a personal thing. I think it's also a cultural, societal thing in the US, kind of hustle and grind culture. But it is definitely something that I personally have taken on very strongly. And recently, ever since I quit babysitting a couple months ago, I have been adjusting to the fact that I actually have weekends. And this past weekend, I honestly did not know what to do with myself. I had one social thing planned, which was really nice on a Saturday. And then Sunday I had another plan that ended up getting canceled. Or because of that, I was like, whoa, I have all of this time. And one of the things that I saw immediately was this thought of oh, okay, because I have more time, I should do some work. I should just get started. I should film this. I should, prep some content for the week. And I literally had to, on a conscious level, tell myself, no, Larnie, you cannot do this. You are just going to rest. And I didn't care if that meant laying in front of my computer and watching YouTube for hours. Didn't matter if that meant whatever. I would not allow myself to work, because I think that when you are so conditioned to always be working, to always be hustling, it can almost feel like that is the default and anything else is kind of nice to squeeze in. And I do think it goes to show me just how much I had adapted to that in order to live the life that I was, with babysitting, with, having Saturdays being a work day, in addition to the weekdays, and then kind of squeezing everything into Sunday for myself. And it's I'm in this period of decontraction or relaxation, where I can almost feel this unfurling happening, where it's okay, I don't have to just fit into this tiny little space. I actually am allowed to take up more space. I actually am allowed to, do nothing if I want to do nothing. What a concept. And I know that I'm not the only one who has felt this way. I think that there's so many people who go through life in this way. I think especially women. And I think this can happen regardless of, your unique experiences. I think that sometimes we face an extra burden of needing to kind of do the most. And so it's something that I want to deconstruct and actively rewire on a subconscious level, because I know, and probably you know too, is that when you have downtime, that is really beneficial, because then you're able to get up the next day and feel refreshed, or at least not exhausted, not burnt out. But I think so many of us are operating on this level of just barely getting by, that exhaustion and burnout is pretty normalized. And we just are kind of taught to push through that. And I really want to challenge that notion. That's what I want to challenge inside of myself right now. And perhaps you want to challenge that inside of you too. And I know that so many of us have responsibilities. There's single moms that I've talked to who have said, well, if I don't vacuum, then no one's going to vacuum. Or there's people who have other responsibilities where they really do carry the weight of household responsibilities or familial responsibilities, things like this. And I absolutely hear that. And obviously, every single person's situation is different and unique. But I do really believe that if we are not able to make peace with our own worthiness of rest, then we will never be able to create the satisfying and sustainably supportive life that we want. Because rest is absolutely something that we deserve. It shouldn't need to be a luxury. But so many of us, for so many systemic reasons, for so many oppressive reasons, don't get to experience rest as a given. It actually is a luxury. And so I'm not saying that I know how to take down systems that have been in place for really hundreds, if not thousands of years in some cases. But I do believe that we have it inside of ourselves to make peace with our relationship to rest, even if society outside of us is not changing at the same pace or even at all in the direction that we want it to. Because the thing about life is that life is always going to be doing something uncomfortable and crazy and unexpected. That's a given, But just because there are these things going on outside of us doesn't mean that we can't create change inside of ourselves. If we're waiting for something external to change before we allow ourselves to reckon with what we need, then we're going to be waiting a really long time. And I just don't think you need to wait that long to feel better. And so this is why I personally have been committing to exploring what rest looks like. And I texted my sister and I was like, what do people do on weekends? She has a corporate job. She's had weekends for a while now. And she was like, well, it's when you rest and it's when you figure out what kind of rest you need. And so I thought that was a really great reminder that rest doesn't always mean just lying on the couch watching TV. Rest could mean taking a walk. Rest could mean going and meeting up with a friend for a coffee. Rest could mean just browsing the local stores in your area. Rest could mean so many different things. It could mean literal sleep or literally physical rest. But you know the difference. You know the difference between when your brain is tired and you're like, I just need to watch a rom-com or reality TV because that's all my brain can handle right now. And you know when your body is tired, you've just taken a long hike or you've done this intense workout, you know what fatigue feels like in different ways. But maybe we've gotten a little bit disconnected from that. And so when someone says weekend, when someone says rest, maybe we all conjure the exact same image to mind. I think it's especially in the US where we have this culture of work, work, work during the weekdays, and then weekends are just going grocery shopping and laying on the couch. But it doesn't have to be that way, but I think we get so wrapped up in what the kind of cultural narrative is around rest. And yes, that can be helpful sometimes, but not all the time. And so what I'm really underscoring here is that cultivating a relationship to rest is a foundational element of our relationship with ourselves. How we experience and need rest and receive rest is huge because rest is so key to us being able to function in any of the roles, in any of the identities that we have in our lives. And so I want to invite you to do a little rest check-in with yourself. And check in with all the different elements of yourself. In hypnotherapy, we do something called parts therapy, where we might pull out the physical self, the emotional self, the intellectual self. And if that's a useful frame for you to work with, consider that. Check in with those different parts of yourself and say, okay, well, what do I feel here? How does my physical self feel? How does my intellectual self feel? How does my emotional self feel? How does my spiritual self feel? There are so many different selves, and you might have aspects of yourself that you have a relationship with that might be different for me or it might be different for the next person, But I really want you to take some time and think about that. And don't just think about it, but get clear about it. Because once you are clear about it, then you can figure out, okay, what am I actually missing here? Like yesterday, I was laying on the couch and I was like, I actually don't know what to do. And I think it was because I really was not connected to what part of myself was asking for rest and what that rest would look like. It might even, if you're someone who really likes to plan and be organized, which I'm imagining you might be, it might even be helpful to give some examples to yourself. Like, make this a creative exercise, take 30 minutes or 45 minutes or more if you have it, and start getting clear for yourself. And okay, when my physical self needs rest, this is what's useful. When my intellectual self needs rest, this is what's useful. Like, the answer is not always going to be scrolling through TikTok. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes the answer is going to be different. And if you have that written out in a clear way, then it's going to be so much easier for you to figure out, okay, I'm feeling this way. Let me look to what I know has been helpful in the past. It may or may not be what you need exactly in that moment, but at least you won't be laying there like, I don't know what to do. At least you will have an additional resource. And now, as I'm talking about this, I'm like, I should make a resource, like a little PDF that could walk you through this. It's a really good idea. Stay tuned, because if I've made that, by the time this goes live, I'm going to include it in the show notes. I'm going to include it in the description box on YouTube. But it'll be helpful for you to just see that. So that way you can start developing this relationship for yourself. And you can also kind of take note, like after you've done it, reflect, how do I feel? Like, did taking 3 deep breaths change the way that I feel and the way that I wanted it to? Or did I need to do something different? Did that walk change things in the way that I wanted it to? These are all ways that we can develop a relationship with ourselves better. And when we have a better relationship with ourselves, then we're able to create a life that's more in alignment with who we are, and a life that is less in alignment with what everyone else is telling us we need to do, or believes we need to do, or wishes we would do. Like, we can appreciate other people's opinions, and we don't have to make them be the driver behind our decisions. So that's where I'm going to leave this today, because now I want to go do that exercise actually. If this was useful for you, let me know. I also will just throw in that, as I mentioned, like, these are things that we can do in hypnosis. And so if you consistently realize that there's a part of yourself that is not getting fed and you're like, I actually don't know what to do with this, absolutely book a session, because that would be incredible to explore with hypnosis, to get clarity around that, so that way you can show up for that part of yourself and ultimately your entire self with more confidence and ease. So I will leave you on that note. I'm excited to hear what you come up with as you explore these different parts of yourself, and let me know what part of yourself is needing the most rest or the most care right now. I'm so curious. So take care of yourself, stay hydrated, and thanks for being here. As always, I'll talk to you soon. Mwah. Bye.